The starship Elysium hung in the void, its sleek silver hull glinting under the light of a distant sun. Inside, Captain Jace Carter sat in the dimly lit command center, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The ship's AI, a soothing female voice named Aura, hummed softly in the background. "Captain," Aura said, her tone tinged with urgency, "we're picking up a distress signal from the surface of Zorath 4. It's faint, but it's definitely a call for help." Jace leaned forward, his sharp blue eyes narrowing. Zorath 4 was a forbidden world, a place shrouded in mystery and danger. The Galactic Council had declared it off-limits after the disappearance of several exploration teams decades ago. But Jace had never been one to follow rules. "Patch it through," he ordered. The comms crackled to life, and a voice, soft yet commanding, filled the room. "This is Princess Kaelara of the Zorathian Dominion. If anyone can hear this, I am trapped in the ruins of the Crimson Spire. Please help me." Jace's heart skipped a beat. A princess. On a forbidden planet. This was either a trap or the opportunity of a lifetime. He smirked. Either way, he couldn't resist. "Aura, set a course for Zorath 4. We're going in." The descent through Zorath 4's atmosphere was turbulent, the ship rattling as it breached the thick, crimson clouds. Jace gripped the controls, his knuckles white, as the Elysium touched down on the planet's surface. The landscape was otherworldly. Towering obsidian spires jutted into the sky, and rivers of molten lava snaked through the cracked earth. Jace suited up in his armored exosuit, a sleek black and silver design that hugged his muscular frame. He slung a plasma rifle over his shoulder and activated his helmet's HUD. The ruins of the Crimson Spire loomed in the distance, a jagged monolith that seemed to pulse with an eerie red light. "Stay sharp," he muttered to himself as he stepped onto the alien soil. The journey to the spire was fraught with danger. Strange, insect-like creatures scuttled in the shadows, their glowing eyes tracking his every move. The air was thick with the scent of sulfur and decay. But Jace pressed on, driven by a mix of curiosity and a strange, inexplicable pull toward the voice he'd heard. When he finally reached the spire, he found the entrance sealed by a massive stone door covered in intricate carvings. He studied the symbols, his translator struggling to make sense of the ancient language. After a few moments, he found a hidden panel and pressed his hand against it. The door groaned open, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. Inside, the air was cooler, and the walls were lined with glowing crystals that cast an ethereal light. Jace moved cautiously, his rifle at the ready. The deeper he went, the stronger the pull became, as if the spire itself was guiding him. At last, he reached a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. In the center of the room stood a figure, her back to him. She was tall and slender, her skin a shimmering silver, and her long flowing hair the color of starlight. She turned, and Jace's breath caught in his throat. Princess Kaelara was breathtakingly beautiful, her almond-shaped eyes a deep, mesmerizing violet. She wore a gown of iridescent fabric that seemed to shift colors with her every movement. But what struck Jace most was the look in her eyes, relief, gratitude, and something else he couldn't quite place. "You came," she said, her voice like music. "I knew you would." Jace lowered his rifle, though he kept his guard up. "You're the one who sent the distress signal." She nodded, stepping closer. "I am. My people, they betrayed me. They left me here to die. But I knew someone would hear my call. Someone brave enough to defy the Council's warnings." Jace raised an eyebrow. "You took a big risk. This place is crawling with danger." Kaelara smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "And yet here you are, human no less. I've heard stories of your kind. Fearless, resourceful, and unpredictable. Jace couldn't help but grin. Guilty as charged. So what now? You need a ride off this rock. Kaelara's expression grew serious. It's not that simple. The Crimson Spire is more than just a ruin. It's a prison, and I am its warden. Long ago, my ancestors sealed a great evil within these walls. But the seal is weakening, and if it breaks, the entire galaxy will be consumed. Jace's grin faded. Let me guess. You need my help to stop it. She nodded. Yes, but there's more. The only way to reinforce the seal is through a ritual that requires the blood of a willing sacrifice. I cannot do it alone. Jace's stomach churned. You're asking me to die for this. Kaelara stepped closer, her eyes pleading. I would not ask this of you lightly. But if the seal breaks, billions will perish. I cannot bear that burden alone. Jace stared at her, his mind racing. He'd faced death before, but this was different. He didn't even know this woman, this alien princess. And yet, there was something about her, something that made him want to trust her. Before he could respond, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The crystals lining the walls flickered, and a deep, guttural roar echoed through the chamber. It's awakening, Kaelara whispered, her voice filled with dread. We're out of time. Jace clenched his fists. All right, princess. What do we do? Kaelara reached out, her hand trembling as she placed it over his heart. The ritual requires a bond between us. A bond of trust, of love. Only then can the seal be reforged. Jace blinked, stunned. Love. You're kidding, right? She shook her head, her eyes filled with determination. I am not. The bond must be genuine, or the ritual will fail. I know this is asking too much, but will you trust me? Jace stared at her, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He barely knew her, and yet, he felt a connection, a pull that he couldn't explain. Maybe it was her beauty, or her courage, or the weight of her plea. Or maybe it was something deeper, something primal. All right, he said at last, his voice steady. Let's do this. Kaelara's eyes lit up with hope. She stepped closer, her lips brushing against his as she whispered, Thank you. The ground shook violently as the chamber filled with a blinding light. Jace felt a surge of energy course through him, a warmth that spread from his chest to the tips of his fingers. He could feel Kaelara's presence, her thoughts, her emotions, as if they were his own. The ritual had begun. When the light faded, the chamber was silent. The trembling had stopped, and the crystals glowed with a steady, calming light. Jace opened his eyes, his body tingling with residual energy. Kaelara stood before him, her expression a mix of relief and sorrow. It's done, she said softly. The seal is reforged. The galaxy is safe. Jace nodded, still trying to process what had just happened. So, what now? Kaelara hesitated, then reached out to take his hand. The bond we share. It is permanent. You are a part of me now, and I am a part of you. I cannot return to my people, and you. You cannot return to your old life. Jace's heart sank. What are you saying? She met his gaze, her eyes filled with resolve. I am saying that we must leave this place. Together. There is a ship hidden in the spire, one that can take us far from here. We can start anew, somewhere the council will never find us. Jace stared at her, his mind reeling. He'd come here to rescue a princess, and now he was being asked to abandon everything he knew.